Everyone, my name is Rachel. I'm the Research Communications Manager at Blood Cancer UK, and today I'm joined by the lovely Beth. Beth, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Beth. Officially, I'm Dr. Beth Stuart, and I'm an Associate Professor of Medical Statistics, and I work at the University of Southampton in the Southampton Clinical Trials Unit.
Thanks, Beth. Yeah, so Beth is a very clever person who is going to be helping us with all our vaccine research. So as I'm sure you will already know, that the Blood Cancer Vaccine Research Collaborative have funded numerous researchers across the UK to try and find answers about whether the vaccines work for people with blood cancer. And at the moment, we've got about 9 projects on the go looking at this in all different types of blood cancer, from the acute leukemias to myeloma, to MDS, and various others as well. And what we want to do eventually is group all the data we're collecting together to try and find some really, really robust answers. And that is what Beth is going to be doing. So Beth has some funding to do something called a meta-analysis. And today we're just going to have a little bit of a chat about what a meta-analysis is and what it could mean. So Beth, I guess over to you for the first question. What is a meta-analysis?
So a meta-analysis is just a kind of fancy word for pooling a bunch of data together. So you've got 9 or 10 different studies that are all looking at similar sorts of questions. And if we put them all together, we'll have a lot more patients and a lot more information to help us to answer those questions. So it's really just a way of bringing data together and analysing it.
That makes sense. And so what's the benefit of doing that? What's the benefit of bringing all that data together instead of just looking at a single study and trying to draw some conclusions from that?
So I think if you imagine that you only had 10 people that you asked a question to, you'd get an answer, but there'd be quite a lot of uncertainty around those answers because, you know, were they 10 people who were truly representative of the group you were interested in, or were they just 10 people that you managed to enroll in your study or ask by chance? But if you managed to ask 100 people or 1,000 people, you'd probably have a lot more confidence in the answer that you got out at the end. And that's what we're trying to do with the meta-analysis, is that a lot of the studies that we're including have smaller populations, but when we put them all together, we can get an answer about how the vaccine might be working for patients that's a bit more robust, that we have a bit more confidence in.
So it's really power in numbers, isn't it?
It is power in numbers, yes.
And you're going to try and collect data from studies, not just in the UK, but probably internationally as well, aren't you?
Yeah, so I mean, I think our understanding at the moment is that Blood Cancer UK have managed to bring together a group of investigators who are willing and able to share their data, and they've agreed to collect certain things in a similar way so that we can measure them and pull them together really easily. But yes, I mean, if there are other studies out there that have also collected this information, then we can draw from all over the world as long as they're collecting data in similar types of patients.
That's really great. And do you have an idea at the moment of how many patients we think we might, how much data on patients we think we might get in the meta-analysis? How many people will be included in that?
So some of the studies are still recruiting, so we don't know the final number of patients that are going to be included, but we're hopeful that it'll be somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 patients by the time we're done. So, you know, fingers crossed, if recruitment goes well, that's what we're sort of aiming for, and that will give us enough power to answer some of the questions we're interested in.
That's really great. That's a really amazing amount of people, bearing in mind back in January, February, even March, that some of these studies weren't even up and running, and now we're at a point where we could have 1,500 people being looked at in a meta-analysis is amazing. And I guess, you know, once we have all of the data and once we put it all together in your meta-analysis, what kind of answers are we looking for? Like, what are we hoping to find out, and what could it mean for people with blood cancer?
So, I mean, I think what we're mainly hoping to find out is to have a better understanding of the vaccine response in blood cancer patients and what that vaccine response looks like over time. So, you know, if there's an initial response, does it persist over 6 months or 12 months? You know, it gives us some idea of not just whether people are responding to the vaccine, but whether they're maintaining the kind of antibodies that they might need, or whether, perhaps booster vaccines are needed or something like that. So hopefully it's going to give people and patients a slightly better understanding of how well protected they are. There's been a lot of uncertainty, and so we're just trying to provide some answers.
Definitely, definitely. And that would be really great to get, I'm sure. How long do we think this piece of work is going to take? When do you think we'll have some answers?
Well, I mean, the project's funded for 18 months, and we're just starting out now. We obviously have to get ethical approvals in place. We can't just play with people's data without going through the appropriate channels. So, we're just at the start of that process. But we've actually specified certain time points post-second vaccine that we want to look at. So there's an initial time point, just a few weeks after that second dose, which some of the studies have already started to collect. And so we may be able to look at that, within a few months' time. The 6-month and 12-month follow-up data, some studies already have that because they started earlier. Others actually are just getting off the ground now, and it will take them a little while to feed through those follow-ups. But the idea is that we will provide updated results at each time point as soon as that data has been collected. So, we're trying to make it as timely as we can, but we do have to wait for the data to filter through. So hopefully, in a few months' time, we'll have the initial results that we can share, and then we'll continue to follow people up and continue to update.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much. For everyone watching, we will definitely keep you updated on Beth's work and what she finds. And Beth, I'm sure you'll be happy to do something similar again in the future to update people on what you've been finding.
Absolutely, definitely.
But thank you so much for joining me and having a chat about your work. It sounds really, really exciting, really interesting, and I'm looking forward to seeing the results. So thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.